collection is a series set in post-war Paris about a burgeoning fashion house where the key members of the family are harboring some deep secrets.
Many a hateful bargain made in those days we'd all like to forget, eh?
I wanted the feeling that the shadow of the war haunted the series. And it's not a war story, it's not a war show, but the historical background is the scaffolding that holds up the stories that I want to tell.
You go to the narrow streets, in the shadow, in the darkness. We go to the bar, and then 1 second after you are at the défilé. That's the life, and that's Paris after the war. Everything is changing very fast at that time. So I think the show takes the audience into that, that flow.
It's a particularly fascinating time because it was a time of reinvention for France itself as a nation. And in this case, fashion, it was a metaphor for transformation and reinvention.
It's a world of elegance and glamour and riches. When you take the lid off and you see this ugliness, it's quite shocking.
There's a big décalage between the world that you see, that the public world and the inner world.
You think this is funny? You need this as much as me.
Thematically, so much of this show is about transparency and the lack thereof. And I know we've said the line, it's not what they're wearing, it's what they're covering up. But it does apply on so many levels, because the idea of clothes not only as armor, but as a mask. And the need also, not just a mask for covering something, but a mask to allow you to become something. There is a need and a desperation and a drive behind the key characters in this show that they can't go back. They have to go forward.
How many years were we stripped of things that we took for granted? Told to think in a different language. When the one place they couldn't occupy was our imagination.
People were trying to move forward, but they were very much haunted by what had just happened in the very, very recent past.
For a lot of the characters, they've come out the other side with a comparatively clean slate, as long as no one digs too hard. Whatever's in my past, whatever's behind me, I can now step forward into the future with something and change the way the world sees me, and maybe change the way I feel about myself. But there's always that danger constant that someone's going to knock on the door and go, didn't you do this? And that's bubbling under the surface forever.
I think Oliver's written a script where there is always more than one thing going on. He talked early on about what everyone's secret was, and I think that's something that makes everything fascinating. You always want to learn more, everyone's always holding something back, everyone's always got their own motive.
Stan, what is it with you and this crusade to try and crack open Paul Sabine?
There's no crusade, Billy. I'm just a reporter and a sucker for a story with a few good twists. You can keep the book. Couldn't finish it. Think I'm losing my appetite for fiction.
There's an underlying anxiety and tension that underscores this aspirational, I want to be this, but something keeps pulling me back. I'm scared of being exposed. What if somebody finds out? I think that's a universal appeal, and I think people will be able to relate to it. This is a family, and it's dysfunctional, but yet it's flourishing. For some godforsaken reason, they're all complementing each other, and they're like atoms that are bouncing off each other and creating something quite beautiful. And I think people are going to be fascinated about when is it going to unravel? When is it going to explode? When is this going to turn into an atomic bomb?